If you enjoy this content and wish to support the channel, consider becoming a channel member. Channel members get access to our podcast, The Common Language, a week earlier than other subscribers, as well as emotes, loyalty badges, and any other special member-only content I decide to make. Channel members will also be eligible for special channel member giveaways, so stay tuned for your chance to enter. I thank you all so much for considering to support my endeavors in the creator space for this wonderful TCG, and I hope you all continue to have fun in the flesh and blood. Back to the video. Hello, my fellow Ashwings, and welcome on into today's video where we're talking about the market. We're going to talk a little bit about the market, okay? Volcor is doing its thing. The Hunted is now currently due to be out this week. This is the release week for the Hunted, and I just wanted to give new players as well as maybe even just some more like junior players an idea of what they might be looking for in the market and my own personal takes on how this works. So Flesh and Blood. Also, I apologize for the sound of my voice. I'm getting over a little bit of an ick, so I'm working on that. But what I wanted to do today is I wanted to go ahead and proceed to do the PSA that I do every time a set releases, every single time. And that is that unless you are looking to compete in the next big event that is occurring for Flesh and Blood, that is a classic constructed event, do not buy any of the new cards that are Majestics or Legendaries at pre-sale pricing. Do not buy anything at pre-sale pricing. Now, this is going to sound crazy because, obviously I want LGSs to make money, right? The whole point is that a store opening these and selling them should be making that money. And they will, because the folks who start with these cards, the people who buy them at these pre-sale prices, are the people who are looking to compete in these high-level events that these cards are nearly required for the build that they are playing, or even the hero that they're playing in the next big event that they're going to go to. For instance, if there's a classic constructed Battle Hardened that's happening this weekend, which I believe there is, this is release weekend for the Hunted. So all of the cards are now legal in that release weekend. With that being said, people are not opening up boxes after cases after cases of cards to get the cards they want. They're waiting for other people to open them and then buy the singles off of them. Because, if a playset of the card is worth the same as a box, and you only need these 3 cards, there's no reason to buy a box. You'll just get the cards. But the thing that we're talking about today is the fact that there is a lot of stuff that is pre-sale pricing for Flesh and Blood that should not be, if you're not a serious player in regards to trying to make sure your deck is as optimal as possible, as quickly as possible, then you should not buy any of these cards at pre-sale pricing. And I'll go ahead and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about some of the cards here and what I'm explaining. So these are pre-sales of Majestic and Legendary cards that are coming out of the Hunted. One card that makes sense at a pre-sale rate is this Command and Conquer. Because Command and Conquer is, in fact, a staple card for a lot of decks, and it's coming in a new art. But $115 is still pretty good. Now, the other Command and Conquers, the old versions, will probably drop in price. And these ones will be the new hot thing to have for your deck. But the rest of the cards that we see on this page here for pre-sale pricing are far too expensive. Far, far, far too expensive. And I'll tell you why. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at some of them, and I'll show you. Blood Spattered Vest. This is a $195 legendary as of the very moment. $195. This is only for assassins and ninjas, so it's not a generic chess piece. And it's only able to utilize its effect 3 times, and then it's destroyed. So you get 3 resources out of this thing effectively. And then it's destroyed. While it's incredibly effective in the heroes that it's played in, it is not going to be going for $195, especially for the regular version of it, right? If we select this here and we show you exactly what I'm looking at, this at $195 is for the rainbow foil version of this card. Now, I know what you're thinking. It's a legendary. So legendaries are supposed to be expensive if they're hard to pull, right? Well, that's incorrect. Because if we take a look at Part the Misfail, which is easily a set that has some of the most powerful heroes in the current meta of Flesh and Blood, Traverse the Universe is a $25 card. This card is actually insane, and it's only able to be used for Mystic heroes. But this card is essential to 2 out of the 3 Part the Misfail heroes in regards to their game plan style. So, Traverse the Universe is pretty good, but it's only $25, right? Mask of Recurring Nightmares, a card that needs to be run in new specifically. Like, it's the only hero that can run it, but this needs to be run in new. $15. Take a look at something like 12-Petaled Kasaya, a necessary chess piece for Zen, easily one of the most powerful heroes in Flesh and Blood in this current meta. $8. And it's $38 for the extended art version of it. The rarer version of the card is $38. And even when you take a look at something like Stonewall Gauntlet, which is a generic arm piece to help against an aggro plan, Stonewall Gauntlet is $32. Meridian Pathway is another legendary. This legendary is $5. I need that to be extremely clear. This is a legendary for $5. Now, of course, these legendaries that are very specific to certain heroes are cheaper in price because of the fact that they're only used in these heroes, right? If Enigma hits Living Legend, these legs don't see play anywhere else aside from Blitz, right? If New hits Living Legend, this chess piece or this headpiece doesn't see play anywhere else besides Living Legend and Blitz. Same goes for 12-Petaled Kasaya. So really, there's a lot of value here for no money whatsoever. And all these legendaries are incredibly cheap. Let's even take a look at Rosetta. Some of the legendaries in Rosetta face Purgatory being only $40, easily the best Runeblade headpiece in the format right now. Barkskin and the Millennium Tree, $31. Lightning Greaves, only $25. And then you even have something like the Wizard arm pieces that came out of here at $7 a piece. $7. These are legendaries. Arcanite Fortress is $14. It's another generic legendary chess piece. Only a few bucks. But when you look at something like Blood Spattered Vest, it's for only assassins and ninjas. So it's got a wider array of spread for heroes that can be played in. But it's only able to be used 3 times. Whereas something like Fyendal Spring Tunic is used every 3 turns. So while this guarantees you some resources, you pretty much have to win within like X amount of turns to guarantee you get like an insane amount of value out of this turn, whatever. But $195, this is going to not be this price. So do not buy this at $195. There's only 2 of them on the market right now. These are pre-sale prices. Do not buy this at this price. It is not worth this much, I promise you. Then let's go ahead and take a look at another legendary. Let's see here. We're not going to talk about Quick Dodge Flexors because that's not actually, that is going to be a card that's worth money. Let's see here. Where's the Kabuto, the real Kabuto here? Extended Arts. Where the heck is it? Is it just not on here? The Extended Arts. So a lot of these are going to have prices, but they're not going to be fully on here yet. For instance, Mask of Deceit. Mask of Deceit says it's going for $195 right now. This, again, is pre-sale pricing. This is a card that only one hero, it's technically one kind of hero, but only one class, and that class with a certain name of a hero is able to play this card. So for $195,
it's not going to be worth this much. I would be thinking it's even somewhere around $30. So if you buy this at $195, you are asking for a bad time. But let's take a look at some of the Majestics too, right? Because Majestics are really the things that cost a lot when a new set comes out. And I guess really before we get to Majestics, let's talk a little about Quick Dodge Flexors. Quick Dodge Flexors is a great answer against aggro, and it's a really, really powerful leg piece for a lot of heroes. It's generic, so it can be run in any hero. This card going for $182 is probably more accurate, right? It's probably more accurate that this happens. Now, of course, right, we saw one sell for $80, got snapped up at $80. I don't know that it'll go for 182. I don't think this is the correct price either. I would say this card probably goes for about 70. If I were to give it a ceiling, is $70. Because Quick Dodge Flexors, while it's good, legendaries are a lot more not common, but like they're not anywhere near as hard to pull as they were in things like Welcome to Wraith and Arcane Rising. And so because of that, you see a lot more of them, especially with how popular the Hunted is. The Hunted pretty much sold out everywhere on pre-release. Like every store sold out of every little bit of Hunted that they had. And that's just crazy to me. So every little bit of that got pushed out. People bought boxes. People around the world are buying product. Some stores are just straight up out of product entirely and have to wait for their next order to come in. There's a lot. But Quick Dodge Flexors, I saw a lot of this pulled. So while it's expensive here, it's probably not going to be expensive much later on. But again, let's talk about the Majestics, right? So Majestics are another thing that we gotta have to kind of take a look at. Shelter the Storm is probably one of the only Majestics in which I'm like, this card's actually probably going to go pretty high. Do I think it's going to be $64? Absolutely not. I do not think it's going to be $64 because I don't think that it's better than Sink Below or Fate Foreseen. I think it's a different option compared to Fate Foreseen and Sink Below. So if you're going into a very go wide meta, or you don't like going against Rune Blades, for instance, Rune Blade is like an awful bit, concept for you. Shelter from the Storm is a great choice. Except if you're going into Rune Blades, you're probably running AB3 and you probably have blues. So you probably can just pitch a card anyway to block out the 3. The important thing that this card does, though, is it allows for all of your 3 blocks. If your opponent comes in for 4 a lot, this allows you to pitch or to discard this at instant speed to give prevent 1 every next time. So if your opponent comes in for 4 and you block for 3, you're technically blocking for a breakpoint. And then you do that for the next 3 or for the next 2 attacks. Do I think it has a lot of value into aggro? Absolutely it does, because you're already running D-Reacts into aggro. You're already probably going to be running something like this into it. But I don't know that it's going to be $65. I think it's going to be probably somewhere around 20 if I were to guess, maybe 25, because even still, that's pretty expensive for a defense reaction. That's generic, where most of the heroes these days care about having their class cards within them. So putting a generic card in there is a little risky, especially if you're adding it in with several other D-Reacts. But if you look at something like Ring of Roses is currently going for $20 in the open market for pre-sale. Ring of Roses, I don't think I heard anybody say a good thing about this card. And the fact that it's legendary, which means you can only have one of them in your deck, and it's an aura where Rosetta came out with a ton of aura hate, it's probably going to end up being about like $3, I would guess. It's also an expansion slot card, so it's harder to pull, but I don't think that it's going to be going for $20. You can even take a look at a great example is this Arachne Marionette. This is a $5 Majestic, but it's just the hero. Heroes never normally go for anything above $1. So to see Arachne Marionette at $5 for pre-release, That's far too much. Hunter's Glaive, I could see this card probably being about $5, $10 because it's an expansion slot card and it is pretty much like the best way for you to mark your opponent. It's an assassin dagger, so it gets to be put in any assassin, and it does everything else a dagger would do. But then we have cards like Cull. Now, Cull is a Shadow Runeblade card, so it's very specific that only one kind of hero or one kind of class and talent can play it, that being Vincent in the current classic constructed meta. If there are not enough Vincent players, which I know there are not a lot of us, this card is not going to sell at $20. I would buy this card at $10, but I would not buy it at $20. And that's because I don't think that it is worth the $20 in and of itself. Vincent is not a meta pick right now. And even if she was, $20 is a lot because you're probably also buying other things like the Annihilations and you're buying Funeral Moons and stuff like that. So Cull is definitely a good card in Vincent, but it's only for her right now. So there's no reason for it to be $20. The same goes for things like Savor Bloodshed. Card is really good in a dagger build for Assassin or Warrior, but again, that's very specific. Assassins are always running daggers, but Warriors are not always running daggers. And so in that being the case, Savor Bloodshed is very specific towards certain Warriors, but also affects all Assassins. And it also only cares about marked heroes. So if you're not playing an Assassin that cares about marking somebody like New, or maybe even Azuri might not care so much about it, then Savor Bloodshed does like nothing for you. So $25 I don't think is really worth the cost there either. And again, if we take a look at things like Part the Mistveil, you have cards that are good in all three heroes for Part the Mistveil, and they ended up being $20. Like, this is their final setting point. You have cards like Eloquent Eulogy, which is about $6, and this is a Vincent card, right? You have cards like Siren's Call, which is a almost necessary card for you to play in New, and this is $2.50. Shadow Realm Horror, like a staple Leviathan card right now, $2 for a Shadow Realm Horror. And this is an expansion slot card. So is this Kindle, $2. The only Majestic that got absolutely insane in Part the Mistveil is the Weakest Link. And it got insane because it's a generic card and it comes in for CNC stats and might be able to draw you a card. So the value is really, really high there. But overall, like I'm showing you, a lot of these cards that are Majestics, right? You have cards like Channel Lightning Valley, only $15. Succumb to Temptation is $10. Cut Through the Facade is $6. Call to the Grave is $8. You have Current Funnel at $15. And then you have cards like Felling of the Crown and Plow Under, which are significantly cheaper than they were previously, but still fairly expensive to get 3 copies of each. But of course, these cards are incredibly powerful in their Earth heroes. So it's, you know, they're good value cards. You know, you could consider Felling of the Crown the Codex of Frailty of Earth heroes, right? If you play an Earth hero, you're probably playing Felling of the Crown because the card is just incredibly good. It provides disruption, it provides a lot of damage, and it allows you to do the thing for your hero to decompose, for you to get stuff into the Banish Zone. So when you take a look at the Hunted, there's a lot of cards in the Hunted that are really, really good Majestics, like Devotion Never Dies. This is going to be necessary in probably every Draconic Ninja, or even just maybe a regular ninja if you find, I mean, well, you have no real way to make it Draconic in a regular ninja, but playing this in a Draconic Ninja build, that's really, really good. Blood Runs Deep, this is incredibly good for Syndra because it's a card that cares about destroying their daggers. Take Up the Mantle. This card I could see being $30 because of how powerful it is in regards to making another card have the same effect, but only undermarked. So again, it's a very specific build of assassin that cares about Take Up the Mantle, and not every assassin. So when you see cards like that, you go, okay, cool, $30 for a card. It's a pretty good deal. You'd think, but this card's probably going to end up being about $15. I guess effectively what I'm saying here is that I have seen enough of these releases and their pre-release pricing to be able to warn other individuals and say that if for any reason, and I mean any reason at all, you feel that you need these cards right now, buy them, right? I mean, like, if you have the money to buy them right now at pre-release pricing, do it. But I guarantee you that, at least this is my strategy when it comes to building things, is that the reason a lot of these cards are expensive is, one, the set just came out, so people are going to want to play them at their local armory. But two, something that always happens with the release of a set is within, I think, like 2 weeks or 3 weeks or something from the release of the Hunted at this weekend, there is a Road to Nationals, which is a tournament that happens across the world where people can fight for their spot to get a invite to their national championship in their nation. This is the reason why a lot of these cards are going to be expensive, because people who grind out these events, who are looking to make nationals, who are looking to make these events and really kind of push through and become the next national championship next national champion of their area, of their region, those folks are buying these cards. And they're snap buying them. I mean, unless they open them inside their boxes, they're snap buying them. They're saying, any chance I can get to order any of these cards, I'm going to get them because I need them immediately so I can start training to get myself prepared for this season of Road to Nationals so I can, attempt to win it. And that in and of itself is a big reason why a lot of these cards go for a lot of prices. So if you're a casual like me and you just want to play at an armory level, or maybe you're just looking to like pick up cards when you can, let the hype die down and maybe even wait until after Road to National season or midway through. Midway through Road to National season, you might be able to pick up some of these cards for fairly cheap. But honestly, unless you open them, you're going to be spending a lot of money to get them because people want them so that they can upgrade their deck so they can play in this national season. So that's the reason why cards are inflated in price. Not all of these cards are going to stay inflated. For instance, like stuff for heroes that are not meta relevant are going to drop in price. So like Shadow Brute cards, Shadow Runeblade cards, Brute cards in general probably will go down. A lot of Ninja and Illusionist and Assassin and Runeblade stuff will probably go up in price because of this season, because they're currently meta relevant. But other than that, it's just really important to keep your eye on the market. Don't feel like these are the prices you're going to see for Flesh and Blood forever. The game can be expensive sometimes, but right now, when you look at something like the Hunted, just know that it's not because of the general ecosystem of the market and blah, 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 whatever variants, yada, yada. Just know that it's because currently, when the set is due to release in a few weeks, there's a big tournament event that's happening. And those big tournament events are what draws the prices of these cards up because demand is higher. And when player demand is higher, the cards leak out from the market. They get bought up immediately. They find people online that are just like, oh, I'm willing to sell it for X amount. And they buy it from them. So a lot of listings don't even make it onto TCG Player. They end up just going immediately into the hands of the people who need them. And they make that work from there. So hopefully this is helpful and insightful advice to at least let you know that it's not always going to be expensive, right? A lot of these cards in the Hunted are probably going to drop 50%, probably more, depending on the cards. So do make sure that you are at least keeping your eye out for these so that you're seeing the changes. Keep an eye on those cards that you want and see where they go after the set releases, and more specifically, how they look after the RTN season is done, the Road to National season is done. Because then people will start selling their cards so they can buy other decks, so they can get into other means. And there's a whole thing there. But Just keep that in mind. Otherwise, I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode of me talking a little bit about the market. Again, I do apologize for my voice. Hopefully this is still, hopefully you guys can still understand me when I speak, but I'm just happy to know that I'm able to bring this information to you so I can help anybody out who might need it. Even if all this information just helps one person, I'm happy to be able to do that. And it means a lot to be able to be a shining light in the Flesh and Blood community to assist those players who just want to play at a budget that they feel comfortable with. So thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the like button down below. You can also subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And then if you really wanted to, you can even go ahead and become a channel member. That certainly helps us out a lot. And we're always growing as a channel member. We're hoping to do some channel member giveaways sometime soon here. So if you want in on some of those giveaways, feel free to go ahead and become a channel member. But it's not necessary. It just helps kind of keep the lights on. But outside of that, I appreciate you being here. Leave a comment down below letting me know what you're looking for in the hunted and what you're keeping your eye on. And I hope you all continue to have fun in the Flesh and Blood. And I'll see all of you, beautiful Ashwings, in our next video.